When was the last time you had an adventure? It's a question that's so vital, I'm going to ask it a second time. When was the last time you had an adventure? When was the last time that you slew a dragon or discovered some mystic land? When was the last time you ventured into the woods and discovered that all those sticks laying on the ground were actually swords that you could use to fight off monsters? When was the last time you built a fort, constructed a castle in your living room? Or nowadays, are those building blocks back to being couch cushions? And are those fairy lights back to being Christmas lights? And if you're sitting there thinking right now, hold on a second, are you telling me that that guy on the stage used to put Christmas lights into his pillow forts? His fort game must be strong. And you are correct. But if you're sitting there tonight and you're thinking, why am I at a TED Talk where a guy is trying to teach me how to slay dragons? This talk is for you, and it's important, I promise. Here's what I propose. We'll talk about something that matters, and at the end of the talk, I will tell you how it matters to you, so we can get to the matter at hand tonight, which is fun and games. Which begs the question, when is the last time that you enjoyed a game? When was the last time that you threw a ball or dealt out a deck of cards? When was the last time that you booted up the video game system of choice and absolutely demolished your friends? And when was the last time you opened up a board game and wafted in that sweet, sweet new board game smell? And if, by the way, if you don't know exactly the smell that I'm talking about right now, have you even lived? I find it fascinating that one of the first things that we learn when we're born into this world is how to play. All of us have those games from childhood that we remember. And this might be hard to believe, but I was in fact myself a child once upon a time. I didn't believe it at first, so I called my parents, and they told me, yes, you were. And I suspect that if I called all of your parents, they'd tell me the same thing about you, which means that at one point, everybody was a subject matter expert when it comes to playing games. The game that I became an expert on as a child was very complicated. It was called Chase, and the rules worked like this. Dad would put on a song on the radio and blast it as loud as it was. My two little brothers and I would run around the house and get chased. See it? Understand now? Great. So it was called Chase. We're getting chased around the house by Dad. Mom's part in the game was to make sure that she moved out of the way so that giggling toddlers didn't run her over as they crossed through the rooms. Chase was a blast, unless you got caught, because if you got caught, you got scooped up by the ankles. Dad would walk you over to the couch and drop you down. You might get tickled, but you'd definitely be able to rejoin the chase. But it wasn't enough just to play Chase. Competitive oldest son in the Sparks household wanted to learn how to win Chase. So I started to watch. And I realized that in the open, we were hopeless against Dad. His legs were as long as our entire bodies. There was no way we were going to beat him. However, if you kept the dining room table between you and Dad at all times, he could never get around fast enough to get to you. We were too low to the ground, we could always get away. So yes, at the age of 7, I won Chase. Please, no autographs. I understand it's a big deal, but we need to talk about the matter at hand, which is all of us have a game that's like Chase. All of us have a game because those childhood games taught us how to be human. All of those games gave us the ability to unlock our imaginations, which begs the question, when was the last time you imagined? When was the last time you let a flight of fancy distract you for the day? Or when was the last time you let your mind wander? Our imaginations are so critical that so many of us learn how to put our toys into the worlds of our imaginations before we even learn how to speak the words of the world that we're born into. And I, as a child, spent so much time in my imagination that I was in the Cretaceous period on a first-name basis with 30 species of dinosaurs before I even knew how to tell time on a clock. Imagination is so powerful because it's that first survival skill that we get. It teaches us how to interact with our ever-changing world. But what's so mysterious about it is even though we are all born with that childlike ability, as life goes on, all too often our imaginations begin to slip and fade away. And why is that? You know, if you think about that, as we age, we grow older and smarter and wiser and stronger, and we gain access to more resources. So why is it so uniquely that our imaginations seem to slip? Nothing else in our human experience is likewise. When we're babies, we learn how to eat, and then as adults, we learn how to make complex meals. When we're toddlers, we learn how to dress ourselves, and as adults, we learn how to accessorize. As children, we learn how to speak, and as adults, they'll let you give TED Talks even if your name is not Ted. Why then, of all the things that fade, is it imagination? Why does it so often goes unused and unappreciated? I think, as we dwell on this spark that we have when we're born, we don't realize the tremendous power that our imaginations have to see the world that we want to build and make that world real. Imagination in an ever-changing world filled with complexities and things that are even outright scary. Our imaginations are the key to escape. Which begs the question, when was the last time you escaped? When was the last time you vanished into your favorite book or binged your favorite TV show? When was the last time you let the world's problems just spin on without you for a while? For me, it was earlier today, when, like so many of us, I found myself in an abandoned jungle at some lost research institution, where even though I had been warned of a grisly death, someone had stolen 6 dinosaur eggs from an active T-Rex nest. And it was up to me to find those missing eggs before Mama T-Rex came back and gave us a very Jurassic Park kind of day. So I scurried around, I found the missing eggs, and just as I put the final egg into the nest, Mama T-Rex appeared above me, roaring at the top of her lungs. And even though I don't speak fluent dinosaur, I'm pretty sure what Mama Rex was saying was thank you. Because I had saved her babies, I hadn't become an entree, and I had indeed escaped. And for those of you sitting here going, this guy got to hang out with dinosaurs today? That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. You're using your imaginations and paying attention to the talk. Good job. If, though, you're sitting there going, oh great, Dragon Guy is now talking about dinosaurs, I should probably explain what I do for a living. 7 years ago, my dreams came true because I found a way to get paid to play games for a living. Along with my family and dear friends, we opened my first escape room company. And if you've never been to an escape room before, it's like living out a game of Clue or being the main character in your favorite movie. You go into this immersive environment filled with riddles and puzzles, and you have 60 minutes to solve each one and complete your mission objective. These games have become so popular that you can find companies like mine all over the world. When you get down to it, the escape rooms give us something. They relight that fire of imagination that we all had as kids, and they allow you to play, and in so doing, allow you to have an adventure. My job is to build, design, and run rooms like these. So on any given day, I'm in costume, I'm in character, and I am chaperoning people through these places of puzzles, helping them to find their way. I keep them safe, I answer any questions that they have, and if they get stuck, I am there to guide them out of what has gotten them puzzled to move on to the next puzzle. It is the best job I have ever had. It is entirely too much fun. And what I get to see day after day is people coming and having an unforgettable moment with the people that matter most to them. And when I look back now on 7 years worth of designing games, it's all become so interesting because our games have moved on from single rooms to something else entirely. Our process of gamification has allowed us to transform not just single rooms, but entire buildings, entire churches, entire universities, conference centers, and even entire cities to turn them into these worlds of games. And after doing that for so long, I've begun to realize that everything you need to know about life, you can learn in an escape room. That, pun fully intended, the keys to life are in an escape room. And since you've been so kind to listen to me, and you've heard me talk about dragons and dinosaurs, let me give you the 5 guaranteed ways to win in an escape room. 5 guaranteed rules. I myself have played hundreds of escape rooms. I've run thousands of escape rooms, and we've entertained uncountable numbers of clients. So here's the 5 things you need to know to win at any escape room game. Number 1, be not afraid. I say that because the number 1 reason that people lose before they come into the room is they can set themselves up for failure by psyching themselves out. And the 2 types of fear that we see in the room are both equally preposterous. Number 1, people will get afraid of looking silly in front of your loved ones. And that's hilarious because if you spent any time with your loved ones, you know they already think you're silly. So what are you worried about? And number two, people will get scared that we're trying to trap them in a room, like they've just bought a ticket for an all-expense-paid trip to Alcatraz. That's silly because our doors are always unlocked. The room isn't meant to trap you from the world. The room is meant to invite you into the world with its immersion to make sure that you have fun. So, be not afraid. Number two, ask for help. The number one way that people lose in escape rooms is they're too proud to ask for help, especially when they know they need it. And I've seen it happen so many times where a person will ignore friend, date, spouse, child, boss. They'll just be so laser focused on what they think the right answer is that they completely get lost and end up losing the room. Whereas instead, they have access to free help the entire time that is a part of the game to get them on their way. There's no shame in that asking for help, but when people don't, they lose. Don't be them. Ask for help. Number three, know that there is always a way forward. Every lock has a key. Every code can be cracked. Every riddle has a solution. If you don't know what to do, and the room is overwhelming, take a moment, take a breath, look at what you know, and the way will appear before you. Guaranteed. There's always a way forward. Number four, embrace your failures. If I was a betting man, and I am a betting man, I would take a team of children at a birthday party over a team of CEOs at any team building event, because kids aren't afraid to fail. When adults come into the room for our team building events, they'll come in and they all play the same way, doesn't matter where they work. All the adults kind of stand here like this, waiting to be told what to do. The laughs prove that this is true. So, the boss will say, hey, let's do this, let's do that, and then they'll engage. But people that know better, people that have been to our rooms before, or people that are just clever, they won't do it because they're afraid of looking like a fool in front of the rest of them. Children hit the room like a creative cyclone. It is beautiful to watch. They will solve half the room in half the time because they have no concept of failure. They'll go and they'll try a lock, they'll try a key, and it's all okay because anything that they fail at is just a way for them to learn of what they need to do to get it open to move forward. It's really cool to see, and we have a thing or two to learn from them. Embrace your failures. And number five, and perhaps most important, have fun. An escape room is an investment. It takes money to get into it, it takes time to go to it, it takes time to perform and compete in it. So imagine the tragedy of wasting that memory by being upset or being clouded and aggravated and stressed. Instead, have fun with it. The clock might run out, but if you're having fun in the room, you never really lose. Sure, your friends might make fun of you if that clock hits zero, but it's a memory you made and you get to cherish versus an experience that you never look back on to learn from. Have fun. So, to win in any escape room, be not afraid, ask for help, know that there's always a way out, embrace your failures, and have fun. But even more, if you want to win at the game of life, be not afraid, ask for help, always remember that there's a way forward, embrace your failures, and be not afraid. Earlier in the talk, I promised that for those of you confused about the dragons, I would tell you why this talk matters, and it matters for this reason. People don't come to my games to escape from the room. They come to my games to escape from the world. Because when you're in that room, surrounded by the people you love, and your imagination is fueled by these genius moments when you win these little games set out before you, all of a sudden you are having an adventure that is unique and authentic, and it's so powerful that it brings people back to play again and again and again. When it comes to these rooms, they teach us something. They remind us that we as people are at our best when we gather together to play. That games teach us what it really means to be human, and it is through using our imaginations that we remember how to be alive. It's like George Bernard Shaw once said, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. And when it's all said and done, our lives aren't going to be measured by the moments that have passed, but they're going to be remembered by the memories that we made in those moments with the people that matter most to us. So, I ask you again, when was the last time you escaped? When was the last time you imagined? When was the last time you enjoyed a game? When was the last time you had an adventure? And when was the last time that you truly played? Because the great game of life awaits, and it's your turn. You're going to be fine. Be not afraid, and ask for help as much as you need to. We've got your back. There's always a way forward. If you don't see it, it will come to you. And don't be afraid to embrace your failures, because a failure is only ever really a mistake if we don't learn from it. And have fun along the way. And the great game of life is yours to win. Go forth today and have an adventure. And with all that is in me, thanks for playing.